Have you ever looked around and saw somebody's shoes and thought to yourself, what are those?
No, no,
No?
no.
Shoes come in many different shapes, colors, sizes, and are different. They vary from everybody. Have you ever thought to yourself, if I turn on the TV and see LeBron James playing against the Thunders and he's wearing sandals, that wouldn't sit right?
No.
You couldn't imagine seeing LeBron playing sandals. Well, today I will talk to you guys more about that. My name is Steven, and I'll inform you guys of the history of shoes and how they evolved and its representation in our society today. Starting off with three main points I want to inform you guys about in this informative speech is it's how it went from survival and protection to status and wealth, and finally, its culture and commerce in today's society. Starting off with my first main point, survival and protection. Shoes weren't always what they are today. They're not something to stun on your friends with, something that you buy. They were something you made to protect your feet from the weather. Back then, society wasn't what it is today. It wasn't as evolved as it is today. So shoes were only made for protection to protect your feet from the elements. Starting off with article from Discover magazine. Back then, they found cavemen, and their shoes were made of yarn and wool to protect your feet from the snow. They lived in the snow. They weren't Jordans that you wear to school. They were a sort of boot or sandals type things that you would wear to protect yourself, to not get frostbite, to not harm your feet. You would make it out of whatever you had, all the elements you had. You would make it out of everything. You wouldn't just go out to the store and buy it. You would have to see what you would need it to protect your feet from your weather surrounding you. The shoes specifically in the article were made from string. I think it was like tiger fur and leather, and the fur was inside, and there was grass at the bottom to protect your feet, which was all the caveman had to make the shoes. I don't think he had much options. And yeah, that's how the shoes used to serve as survival protection in the back then, back then in the society. Starting off with my second point is wealth and status. Our Harvard study showed a study in Harvard conducted that shoes weren't what they meant today. Today you just buy shoes based off your liking. Back then, not too long ago, in the 1800s actually, shoes were bought by the wealth to show your status off. You would buy the most expensive shoe, and that would represent your status in society. You would buy the most flashiest shoe with the most fur on it, or just the best shoe you could buy. It would represent where you belong in society. If you belong to the bottom, if you belong to the top, you would buy the shoe based off that. And that shows how it evolved from being protection, as we saw with the cavemen, being protection, to then being a symbol of wealth in society during that time. Because as we know, in this time, it's not what it is then. In the 1800s, it was for wealth, and even farther back, it was for protection. Shoes, an example of a shoe that the study in Harvard demonstrated was a high heel, a woman wearing a high heel, and the example was what woman had the most colorful shoe. The example showed a woman with a shoe that had all types of colors, those being like pink, green, purple. And yeah, I think that really highlights how shoes went from protection to wealth, and then from wealth they go to culture and commerce in today's society. In today's society, shoes are a sort of market. They're made to make money off of. Going from wealth, sometimes they do represent wealth. But as we know, basketball has had an influence on shoes. Many people, ever since MJ, I don't know if you guys know who MJ is, ever since then, shoes have been popular. They've been on the rise, right? People wanted shoes, and that creates scarcity, exclusivity, right? People want shoes, and that causes there to be a high value on shoes, making the shoes a sort of market more than shoes. And the example CNN gave shows wear a market. You buy shoes and you sell it when you will profit instead of really buying shoes for yourself. You're buying it to make money off them. And that like helps our society today more than ourselves. Which I think that shows the evolution even better from, if you go from protection all the way to making money off shoes, you can see the evolution of shoes and what they mean today. Today they mean money. A couple years back, they meant wealth, and even farther back, they meant protection. And that shows, that really highlights the evolution of shoes. And I have a photo for you guys to see of one of the first ever pairs of shoes, just so you can see the evolution of shoes. These are almost a sort of sandal and shoes. These aren't really even shoes, but they were considered shoes, as you can see, to protect yourself from the hot ground. These are probably, I think this was an example from shoes in the desert. After seeing that photo, I hope you see the evolution of shoes, and I hope you realize the shoes of today, what they mean in today's society, and the importance shoes really have today. Therefore, for some final thoughts I have for you guys, is to think about, could you picture LeBron James wearing sandals in the finals?
No.
That was it for me. Thank you.